Hello, welcome back to Camping Begins. Today I'm going to show you how to swap out the air strut or air spring, the suspension part at the front of a Land Rover Discovery 4. Same applies to the Discovery 3, Range Rover Sport. You know, engines I think are irrelevant, but basically if you've got air suspension on this model, this is how you're going to swap it. We don't have a high-rise lifter or anything. This is done completely on the driveway and with the basic tools. You don't need anything fancy to do this job, and it's not very complicated, you'll see. I just wanted to point out, I recorded this a couple of years ago, so I'll be doing a voiceover for it rather than talking through the video, and it was a couple of years ago, so if the footage doesn't match, don't panic. Enjoy the video. Okay, so to start, you're going to need some tools: jacks, stands, gloves, spanners, sockets, etc., pliers. Don't forget the cup of tea. Check the description for the full list of what I use below. Next, put the vehicle in off-road height if possible. You might not be able to do that. Jack it up as high as you can, safely. Prop it with a jack stand. Honestly, it never works under or around a car without a jack stand. To remove the wheel nuts, I use a 22mm impact driver bit on my small DeWALT impact driver. So I just want to show you now what we're actually dealing with. At the top where the air strut is in, you've basically got the airline there, which goes into a 12mm VOSS nut. So you'll need a 12mm spanner. We've got 13mm nuts here that hold the air strut into this bracket. So if we move to the bottom now, you're going to see a 24mm long bolt that goes through the lower wishbone, holding the bottom of the air strut in. So moving on to the wheel arch liner, I'm going to remove this. So you're going to need a bit of a trim kit, or just, you know, a decent way of taking this off. I'm going to take it off basically because it just gives you an extra couple of millimeters to work in. You can see me here. I've basically got a trim kit, and I'm going to pop them all out, and then there's a little screw in the bottom on my right hand side that you need to take out in order to lift it out fully. So we've got a bit easier access now to the back. We're going to go straight for that back nut. That's a 13mm right at the back over there, and I'm going to try and get that one out first. I actually went and bought this, which is odd for me. This is a long 13mm spanner, and it just helps give you a little bit more leverage when you're in there because it's quite tight to move around in. I'm also using you know, a flexible head ratchet spanner. I just tried everything that I actually could at this, because this was, I think, the hardest part of the entire job. Just getting this nut off. It's literally millimetre by millimetre, crank by crank, and just keep going at it until you get it off. Okay, so let's move on to the this 24mm long bolt that goes through the lower wishbone. I'm using here a 24mm impact driver socket. They're quite a long shaft on them, so it'll get you over the bolt. Use whatever you can, but in my case I had to put this long bar on as well because they were so tight. I just had to get some good leverage behind it. I must admit, this wasn't my bar, this was my son's bar, but it came in as a bit of a lifesaver really. Okay. On the other side to keep hold of the you know, the bolt, and then just got the rest off with the impact driver. Now I tapped this out, and I tapped it, I must stress, don't whack it. I tapped it with my lump hammer. I don't have a wooden hammer or a rubber hammer or a plastic hammer, so I used what I could, but I did it gently. I did put this little bottle jack under just to take the pressure off. If I'm honest, it didn't seem to make much difference to what I was doing. This bolt is a pain to get out, so you can see I'm just trying everything I can here. this just speaks for itself. Really, you can clearly tell it's a pain to get out. Just be careful with it, but it seems to be pretty rugged. So here we're going to go for the remaining two 13mm nuts that are on top of the bolts that connect the top of the air strut. They're a lot easier than the other ones were, so this one should just you should just shoot through these. I'm also going to just pull the airline out of that little clip just to give it a little bit of flex, because as I'm going to drop it down now, it's going to pull quite tight on there, and I don't want it to be tight on the airline and sort of do any damage. So once we've got this off now, it's literally going to drop down, and it's going to sit in the wishbone, and will support it. So you've got a few inches to drop, or 10-15 centimeters, and then basically it's going to pop out of there. Have a look at that bracket. That's like some kind of heat shield holder. We're just going to make sure that goes on back again afterwards. You can see it there, just sat in the wishbone, nice and safe, no pressure on anything. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this brass VOSS, VOSS, this brass VOSS airline fitting. For that, you're going to need a 12mm spanner. And basically, just for full disclosure, I don't have an onboard one of these diagnostic computers. I haven't depressurized my system. I also haven't depressurized it from the valve on the right hand side of me. I'm just going to depressurize it from here. As I keep, every time I do a turn, you'll see a little bit of dust blow off, and then basically you can hear all the air try to escape. And then you just saw it then, and then I'll get to a single turn, and it will literally go bump, and it will just pop off. I'm just going to try and push that VOSS connector back through the framework there, just through the bracket, so that I can get access. Going to lift this away now. We're pretty much done with that. That's the old broken air strut. That was the actual one that was leaking. I went here for an official Land Rover part. I went to a Land Rover dealership in Melbourne, Ritter Land Rover. Not that they've ever done me any favours or not, but they're very expensive of these, and they wouldn't give me a discount for buying two. But that's the official part number there. I'll put it in the description. So now we've got to remove this VOSS nut from the end of here. There's a little circlip that goes around it, which I'm trying to remove here. Eventually I ended up just slicing it with a pair of snips and pulling it off, but I'm just doing my best here not to damage that airline at all, because the new one just pushes in. You don't need to actually do anything really, it's just a push in. So I took that circlip off, and now this nut will literally just pull off, clean the end a little bit, and that's good to go. That's ready to go inside the new unit. So we're going to go and grab the new strut, and we're going to put it in. Just be aware that tab there needs to be facing outwards, needs to face you, and that basically means so that all the nuts and the bolts will all line up, and the airline will be in the same place. Put that 24mm nut bolt back in. And tighten it up. I don't think I've over tightened it here. I've watched a couple of people that say, oh, don't tighten it fully here. I'm not sure if I did or if I didn't, but basically what they're saying is tighten it up and then get your top nuts in place. Once that's done, then you can tighten it fully. So I'm just going to align this jack, this little bottle jack underneath, that's going to help me push up the wishbone and the air strut back into its location at the top of the framework. So we're just going to get that in there. It's a little bit difficult to line up, and basically the jack's going to basically do the heavy lifting for us. So now that's all lined up and the bolts from the strut are now back through the holes in the bracket. You can see I'm just trying to line up this heat shield. Well, I think it's a heat shield, but basically it needs to go back on top of that nut, on top of that bolt. So with that back in place, I'm going to go to try and get the back nut, the difficult one that was really hard to take off. I'm going to try and get that one in first and up tight before we put anything else in, and that way this will give us a little bit more room to play, due to the airline not being there and the other nuts and bolts not being there. So I'm just going to use these pliers, these long nose pliers, just to try and pull the plastic plug out of the new VOSS nut. Basically there's a plastic plug in there to stop any cat getting in it or any rubbish, and I pulled it out last. You could pull it out first, it's your call. Now we're just going to try and line up. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but this basically needs pushing all the way into there, all the way down to that little, gosh, what we'll call that, down to the little nodge on the, nodge, that's the word. So we're going to keep pushing it down. It needs to go in further than that, and I'm basically going to use the long nose pliers just to make sure it's fully inserted. I don't seem to be able to push it down all the way. So the long nose pliers I'm just going to put over that ridge is a better word, and then we're going to try and push it down from there till it clicks in completely. Being careful though, of course, not to damage it. Well, you can see there it's in fully, and that's exactly right. It sits out just a couple of mil shy of that ridge. I'm going to click the airline back in just to its little holder. And now we're going to go ahead and refit the two remaining 13mm nuts that go on the air strut into this bracket. Right, well those bolts are back in. I've just jacked it up a little bit to sit it back under this on the jack stand, and now I've released the bottle jack, so I've taken the bottle jack away now. Going to refit the wheel liner. I don't have a specific video on that per se, but you probably can find one if you need one. But basically refit the wheel liner in the opposite of how you take it, how you took it off. I didn't actually have an eyebrow, a wheel arch at the time. It had some damage to it, so I'm just refitting the wheel here with again the 22mm impact driver on my impact driver gun. Please ignore that Ford Falcon. It's never to be allowed on my drive again. So we're now going to try and let the car down as gently as we can. Once you've had these up a little while, they do get a bit clangy on the way down. You feel lots of clinks and clonks, but basically just let it down as slowly as you can, obviously. Going to get in now, just do a basic test, going to start it up. It should prime and then lift itself, and then I've set it to a maximum height, to its off-road height. Then I'm going to set it back down to just the normal road height again, the normal middle setting, and then we're all done. That's your job done. Get tidied up. Honestly, it's a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Well, thanks for watching the video. If you've got any comments, if you've got any questions, again, I'm not a qualified mechanic. I just do what I can when I can. Feel free to ask me any questions. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for watching. Have a look at the playlist. Leave a like. Thanks a lot. See you next time.